Hello, peeps and creeps, and welcome to Fright Club. I'm Gav, and he's Danny.
Hello.
We're the Fright Club NI, and thanks for joining us for this brand new episode of Monday Night Frights. Danny, it's season 2 finale.
I know.
We're
I
here.
know. We are here. We made it through a whole 2 seasons.
Mental.
But this train gonna keep on trucking, I assume.
Oh, yes.
Oh yes. We've
It
got to
definitely
keep
is.
on rolling. But
Tonight-
we have come to the end of season 2.
I know. Sad, but also happy. So
Yeah.
I'm excited for season 3.
Of course.
We'll be taking a couple of weeks break after this episode to recharge the batteries and get stuck into some exciting things for season 3. But in the meantime, we will be talking tonight about From Dusk Till Dawn.
Ooh.
That fucking mental movie from 1996.
Insane. I forgot how insane this film was until
Yeah.
last night when I did my rewatch.
It's mad. It's fucking brilliant. I love it to bits. It's one of my favorite vampire films, of which I have a lot. And I feel like I say this every week, but I'm obsessed with this movie. Genuinely obsessed with it. I was when it first came out, and my obsession has kind of stayed with me for 25 fucking years.
It's all them boobies.
25 years.
It's all the boobies.
It's all about the boobies.
It's all about the boobies.
Absolutely.
Even the demon boobies.
Nothing to do with Salma Hayek, of course.
Man, she again, just I love her. I love her especially in the likes of Dogma and stuff.
Yeah.
But in this movie, it's just like how crazy it goes from her being like this, the number one top dog stripper to snake-headed vampire woman. It just flips, and again, it completely, even though I knew it was going to happen, it still completely caught me by surprise when it happened, because everything happens so quick. Like in that moment when the vampires are finally revealed, you're just like, what the fuck? Like, if you've never seen From Dusk Till Dawn before, this film does a full 180 in terms of like theme.
Yeah,
it's just
probably the biggest 180 that you're going to see in a film
Yeah.
for many years to come. And amazing film. We talked about Cabin in the Woods last week about how it's such a fun popcorn horror film. Well, this is as good in terms of being fun, but definitely exceeds the surprise levels and the over the topness of what we love about horror.
Over the top, and it's over the top. Even it takes so many themes, like vampire horror and action. It's so comical in its approach to all those things, because even the action, you get that one character who's been to Vietnam, and he's going into a speech, and it is so over the top that it is just ridiculously funny.
But we have to actually, before we even go any further, we've got a couple of announcements to make. A couple of exciting announcements for season 3 and for future. We will be launching our first piece of merchandise very soon.
This pin badge.
This pin badge, yes.
It's this very pin badge.
Exactly.
And stickers.
But on top of that, we will have t-shirts. Well, t-shirt. Hopefully we will have t-shirts, plural, in the future, but at the minute we have an official Fright Club NI t-shirt coming your way very soon. We don't have one to show off just now, but in the next few days we will be posting a picture on our Twitter and our Instagram feed, so you can go and follow us on there at the Fright Club NI.
Check out our glamour shots.
Check out the glamour shots. Yes, we're going to be hiring a model. His name will be Daniel, and he
voguing.
He will be voguing out. We're not quite sure where, but I'm sure it'll be somewhere really cool.
An undisclosed location.
Somewhere that's got a nice blue hue.
A nice blue hue to go with my blue beard.
I know. Just make sure there's no lights directly above you, Danny. Otherwise, there might be
I'll be a shiny Eggman.
Shiny demons. Shiny Eggman.
Shiny Eggman.
So yes, t-shirt coming your way shortly. We'll have details on our Twitter and our Instagram at Fright Club NI. Go and follow us on the social medias, and we'll have pictures and details about how you can pre-order the t-shirt and help us out, because we're doing this for free and we're trying to bring you some cool content every week, and we want to continue to keep pushing this and build and grow. So we need your support. So follow us on the social medias, and we'll have some cool merch coming your way very shortly. Since this is the finale of season 2 and we'll be taking a break after this into season 3, on our Twitter, exclusively on our Twitter, we will be doing a Twitter poll. That'll be in the pinned tweet in the next couple of weeks, probably a week or two just before we start season 3, we will be putting up a Twitter poll, and we're going to let you choose the first episode of season 3. So we'll choose 4 random movies that we haven't covered yet, and we'll try and keep them different, so they're not all the same, sort of like vampire or werewolf, or whatever. We'll try to keep them all different, that might appease different types of horror fans, and we're going to let you choose the film that we're going to talk about in season 3, episode 1. So keep an eye on our Twitter at the Fright Club NI, and follow us on Instagram too at the Fright Club NI for the picture of our t-shirt that will be dropping down in the next few days.
Oh yes.
And as always, check out the website www.thefrightclubni.com, and you can support us on there by donating a little tip to us so we can buy ourselves a cup of coffee, because we're poor. We're poor.
And we love coffee. We love our coffee.
We do.
Not that we can actually meet up for, we were regular coffee goers.
Well,
before
I'm more of a tea man.
But you are a wee tea man.
I like
whereas I need my coffee.
You love the fucking drugs.
I love that Java juice. Give it to me.
Peter, we'll not talk about that now. Better blue. Right, let's talk about
an awesome movie, which is how old? How old's this movie, Gav?
25 years.
25 years old. I was 2 when this came out.
This is fucking mental. I can't believe that you're so young.
I'm a little boy. But my baldness says otherwise.
So you were there at opening weekend then when this was released? Sitting in your mommy's lap?
Just like, let's go, Salma Hayek, yay!
I know, fucking hell, mental. When did you first see this movie though?
I think I was maybe about 15, 16, and my mate lent me the DVD copy of it. And I just remember watching it at the time and just being like, again, it's one of those things when you're like a teenage boy, you're just like, explosion and boobs! And it's blood, gore, boobies! So yeah, and it's just, that's sort of the one thing you kind of took away from it at that age, but watching it now and kind of being able to appreciate like more of the themes and stuff, there's just really, really great text on vampirism in this and on religion, and I definitely watched it with like a different perspective in terms of like Tarantino as a writer and also as an actor, and also like my take on this is Tarantino went to Rodriguez and was like, I want you to direct this, but only if I can play Richie. And Rodriguez was like, yeah, but so do you feel connected to the character or something? And Tarantino was like, yes, I have fate. And Robert Rodriguez was like, what was that? And he's like, nothing, I have fate. And then Rodriguez was like, okay, I will direct it, but on the one condition, I get to blow them up. And they were like, what, you mean like cars and buildings? And he was like, no, I get to blow them up. I get to blow up, yeah, blow up. And then he was like, blow up all the vampires. Make them blow up, and just spent like half the budget on pyrotechnics because the amount of the start you've got the blowing up building, but then after that it's just like exploding vampires everywhere.
Yeah, they just blow up, like somebody shoots them with just a gun and they blow up.
Just go,
I know. Or with the bow, the arrow.
And again
near the end, just blow up.
Everything just pops.
I know, but that's the beauty of this film. It's just one of the most over-the-top films you'll see from this era, because it was a strange time for horror. The mid-90s, horror there wasn't a lot of big movies in the mid-90s for horror. Obviously Scream came out this year as well, but it didn't come out until after this. But mad movie. Like, I remember seeing it. I was 12 when it came out, and this was one of the few movies that I wasn't allowed to rent. Obviously, I was too young, but normally, you sort of say to your folks, "Oh, can I rent this?" And all right then,
Yeah, they haven't actually properly looked at the box or anything. They're just there
was a couple of films growing up that I really, really was obsessed with, and I really needed to see, and I wanted to see them on video, and I couldn't rent them because I wasn't allowed to. This was one of them, and Universal Soldier was one of the other ones as well. Strangely, weirdly enough, like I was completely obsessed with that when it came out. But when this film came out, I can't remember when I first saw it. I assume that I was at the age where I was starting to read Empire and Total Film and stuff, and I'd seen a few images, and obviously there was a big buzz around Tarantino. And I didn't realize at the time he had written it. Obviously, he was just, he was in the pictures because he starred in the movie. But because there was such a buzz around him, you know, it was getting a lot of, you know, it was in all the magazines, and he was in a lot of the pictures that they were showing off. And yeah, completely obsessed with the movie. I was a big horror fan, and I just feel like this movie was made for me, because at that time, because it was just so like, a lot of the first half of the film kind of went over my head a little bit, because it was like, okay, this is great and all, but as soon as you get to the bar, you're just like, oh my god, this is fucking insane.
It's even outside the bar, like the whole the chaotic energy outside the bar with the truckers, and then the wee man shouting about pussy, and he's just like reaming off like all the
Cheech.
different. Oh man, his whole thing was just like, because I again forgot about that until the rewatch. I was just like, man, this just sets up like the energy. His energy just sets up for the whole thing.
Yeah, he's obviously played by Cheech Marin, famous Cheech and Chong, and you know, been in loads of TV shows and films over the years. And he's in this fucking 3 times. He plays 3 characters. So busy man. He must have made a pretty sweet payday. But just talking about Cheech, actually, I have something pretty cool. Whenever I went to America the first time I went to America, I want to say it was 98 or 99, so a couple of years after this film was released. I like to partake in extracurricular activities, we'll say. And I was a fan of Cheech and Chong, and I went to, what was that big shop in America? Is it Spencer's Gifts, where they have all the cool, or Hot Topic? It's a bit like Hot Topic, but it's not as gothy. And it has all the cool films, TV memorabilia, and band stuff, and all that cool shit that you would never have seen. Because obviously this was kind of before the internet blew up, and it was hard to buy stuff, so you had to physically go into shops. And this was a shop that you couldn't get merchandise like this over here. And I went into Spencer's Gifts in a mall somewhere and seen these sitting on the shelf.
Oh my goodness, thanks. What the fuck?
It's a little Cheech.
What is it? Is it like a little? What is it?
Cheech Marin, and I've got loads of things inside it. I keep loads of guitar plectrums and wee badges and stuff that I've collected over the years.
Storage. Is it meant to be a money box? Like, is his mouth a hole?
No, it's not. No, it's not a money box. It's just like a little thing that you store things in.
I thought his mouth was a wee hole, and you could like slip money into his mouth.
I've had them for since 1998. I took them back from America. I say took them back because there's another one, and you know who the other one's going to be.
Of course. It's
going to be Big Tommy Chong. I have to be careful here because there we go.
Class.
And he's the same. I've got like just some badges and stuff in there, and things that I've collected over the years, and Led Zeppelin badges and stuff. And I actually have to look through there and see what else I have. Family Guy. Anyway, I thought I'd show that off just because I knew we were talking about Cheech.
Yeah.
And I've had them for so long, and they've moved around my house. They've been in my attic, they've been in my built-in wardrobes, and they've been in my geek room, and they've been everywhere. They've been on my bed collecting dust. They've been everywhere. But yeah, I cherish them. I love them to pieces.
You know my favorite Cheech role?
What?
Oliver and Company. You know the Chihuahua and Oliver and Company.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's he's in Lion King as well.
Of course. Yep.
He's Banzai. Is it? One of the hyenas. I'm pretty sure it's Banzai. I could be wrong there, but I'm pretty sure it's Banzai. But yeah, amazing actor, like fucking phenomenal. I was obsessed with Cheech and Chong when I was younger for the wrong reasons really. But sure, it's all a bit of fun whenever you're a teenager growing up,
Okay, you've got to do a bit of loving.
Oh, you've got to.
You got to do a bit of loving.
But yeah, Cheech, I love Cheech. He's great, and he's fucking phenomenal. And
he's
even
great in this.
So obviously he plays the pussy man, but he plays the guy at the very end as well, and he's even funny at that. Like, just what were they, psychos or something? He says at the end, it's just so like
good. Yeah,
they were fucking vampires, and then he plays the officer at the border as well, which I had actually forgotten about that. I knew he'd played the pussy guy and the guy at the end, but I'd forgotten he was the border patrol guy. Apparently, he's got a badge that says, I think it's Oscar Marin, who was his father, who was actually a LA police officer as well. So a little bit of trivia there for you, Danny.
That's pretty sweet. That is some terrifyingly good trivia right there.
I love throwing out the trivia like when I can.
That is great. You know what is his you know, how capable he was of showing a range of roles within this movie is incredible, you know. And again, I think a lot of people would automatically put him down as like, you know, you hear Cheech Chung like a couple of stunners, man, comedy actors. But I mean, he definitely got to show his acting chops off in this film.
I think out of the two, Cheech and Chong, Cheech obviously went on to be the kind of more proclaimed actor. I think he's famously in, was it Nash Bridges, or one of those kind of CIS or something like that. He played a fairly big role in that. He was like one of the partners, and then he was in Lost as well. And he's been in loads of movies over the years. Great actor, but he's got that voice that you just recognize instantly.
Yep.
And he's also got an aura about him. When you see him, you're just like, oh, Cheech. You know, you're just like, oh, there's Cheech. Just want to hug him. He's just got that sort of weird kind of.
You want to give him a squeeze?
I know, just a big squeeze. Oh.
Big squeeze.
But yeah, he'd be a cool guest actually at a con.
Man, imagine you got even just to meet him. But imagine we could get him on the show. Imagine we'd got him for this episode. Oh,
I know.
Oh.
I think it's something else. We'll get him for season 3. Here, hopefully. Season 3 is going to be bunged out.
Threes and C's.
Threes and threes. I'm getting all fucking tongue tied because I'm getting
You're getting excited.
I'm getting a bulge over Cheech.
Husband's bulge.
It has returned this week. Right. Let's chill out and talk about From Dusk Till Dawn. So
get the fact stuff out the way. Get the fact into the
1996. So obviously written by Quentin Tarantino and directed by the great Robert Rodriguez. Rodriguez had been coming off Desperado, and which was a massive hit in 1995, the year before this, I think. It was kind of his gateway into, you know, bigger Hollywood realm, I suppose. And Tarantino, as we said, you know, the world had fallen in love with Tarantino at this stage. But the script was written years before. It was actually made into a film. It was actually written before Reservoir Dogs was released. Tarantino had been paid $1,500 to write this script. This was his first commissioned script by Robert Kurtzman, who was and who still is a huge sort of special effects legend. He's done make-up and special effects in films over the years, like Predator. He's been parts of Cruise, From Beyond. What else was he in? Dream Child, Tremors, Jason Goes to Hell, People Under the Stairs. A lot of big horror films, and he also directed the very first Wishmaster film, which is, you know, a cheesy 90s movie. I think it came out in 97, but it's decent. It's not a bad decent movie. But yeah, so he had hired Tarantino to write this script because he had come up with the story. He'd written a treatment, and Tarantino wrote the script. And I think Kurtzman wanted to direct it initially. It would have been his debut in the director's chair. But whatever happened, I don't know what happened. But anyway, Rodriguez came on board, and, you know, like, the partnership between Tarantino and Rodriguez it's legendary now because they're very close friends. But, you know, it's just like peas and carrots. They go together so well, don't they? So
well. And I mean, because obviously later on down the line we got like the Grindhouse stuff, and but they are just, I think in terms of their personalities as well, they seem quite similar. And their thought processes, how they go about making their movies and stuff, they seem to have a very similar sort of vibe. I remember thinking for ages that like Rodriguez was a bit of a weirdo like Tarantino, but then after the Mandalorian videos came out where he's like playing the guitar with Baby Yoda and stuff, I was like, you're lovely.
I know.
You're lovely. And I love his again, moving away from Dusk Till Dawn, but did you see the behind the scenes for the Mandalorian? And he used like his Star Wars toys and his sons to make his like concept stuff, and man, that blew me away. Like that was so cool. And it was just like, fuck, like there's somebody who is like paid a fortune to make like movies and TV shows and stuff, and his concepts are literally him playing with his toys. Like inspiring, absolutely inspiring.
Well, he filmed it in his like back garden and stuff, and he filmed it with his kids. And one of the glaring comparisons between Rodriguez and Tarantino is that they're both fucking big movie nerds. Like,
big movie nerds.
You know, Tarantino was constantly said that he never went to film school. He went to films, you know. He watched loads of films when he was a kid. He just fell in love with cinema, and he famously has stolen everything, which is absolutely fine because, you know, that's what people do. They steal things and they use them. And
As long as they do it in a clever
Yeah.
and inspired way, you know, and again, Tarantino gets away with it. I mean, look at Kill Bill, like it's just a massive homage to like Japanese cinema, and it just his characters and everything are just very easy to see where they come from. But even the way the characters talk about media and all, like I know he only wrote True Romance, but look at the way like they talk about movies and comics and that. It like that's I think that's why I like connect so much with that movie, is because I'm like, that's me. I'm that nerd.
I know. I think that's why I love Tarantino so much. Well, I maybe don't particularly love the man so much, but I love his work. You know, anything that he touches, I'm always like, I need to see it. I need to analyze it. I need to strip it to pieces. I need to, you know, I just even little scenes. I love everything that he does, and you know, I want to be careful not to drift into, you know, this is a Quentin Tarantino show, because we have talked about him quite a lot on other episodes as well. But you know, I just love Tarantino, and him and Rodriguez are just big film nerds. They love
big film nerds.
You know, they love showing off what they are into, and that's what they do perfectly. And maybe Tarantino a little bit more than Rodriguez, but you know, I think this is just the perfect combination of the two.
Yeah, it really is.
This is kind of this. You said earlier there, this was kind of a precursor to Planet Terror and Death Proof, in the sense that it was a homage to B movies. You know, and the second half of this movie is just a complete gore fest, and it's kind of over the top that you kind of have to appreciate it for what it is. It is almost like a B movie style gore fest, but kind of done in a modern way that really fits and it really works.
Oh yeah.
So obviously, like, you know, we talked about Tarantino is in it as well. He plays Richie. Man, underrated actor. I think there's always this thing where if you want to be a writer, I want to be a screenwriter, and I've written a few scripts and stuff, and I always read this advice online where if you want to be a writer, you need to go to acting lessons, and you need to learn how to be an actor as well. And you know, Tarantino has got some good acting chops, man.
His stuff, like, yeah, when he gets into a role, again, I feel like with Tarantino, well, I was going to say a little bit of himself, but there's always quite a big bit of himself. Like even in Pulp Fiction, I'm pretty sure he's just being himself. Django Unchained, I think he again is just himself, but Australian. And in this, I think he
well, really good day, mate.
Yeah, and it's just this especially, I feel like he got to play with a darker side of himself. It's like a side he wouldn't go to in reality, but because of the character he's playing, he really got to like amp up his you know, some of the stuff that he maybe like the fit thing. Like we all know, like anybody, you know, you say Quentin Tarantino, people go, "Is he not in the Fight?" And this movie really, he got to suck Salma Hayek's toes. Like
he loves a big toe, doesn't he?
He loves a big toe. Wiggle that big toe. And you know, he was just sitting behind the camera on Kill Bill going, "Wiggle that big toe."
100%. He was definitely.
Well, he definitely, you know, and I feel like this here, because he knows where the boundaries are for himself, but he knew with this character, he was like, no, I can kind of play up to being a super freak. And I mean, he does it so well in this movie. His character is so unsettling. And I mean, even some of the like the moment in the hotel room with the daughter, with Katie, and she imagines her saying something to him, and then he later on he kind of comes back to that, and it becomes very clear that he's obviously not mentally well, but he really settles into that role a bit too comfortably.
100%. Couldn't agree any more than that. Like a lot of the characters he plays, they do feel like they're parts of his personality that are just turned up to 11.
Yeah.
But you know, I don't want to become a guy that is sort of bashes anyone's fetishes, but
no, we don't want don't kink shame. You know, feet aren't our thing. But if feet are your thing, I mean, let your freak flag fly.
Yeah, 100%.
But Tarantino really lets it fly in this movie,
especially in this one. Like, I'm going to say that I'm 99.9% sure that scene was written by Tarantino and was in the original script.
Man, see, even it's when the first you notice it, and it's so subtle, but you just fucking straight away you can peg it. And it's when he's in the hotel room and he's left alone with the hostage, and she climbs up she's sitting on the bed, and he goes, "Oh, kick off your shoes," and then she kicks off the shoes and puts her feet up on the bed, and you can just see him like his eyes shoot straight down to her feet, and you're just like, this is going to go all, like, you already know that he's because it cuts away later and you can't hear the bit about him being like a sex offender on the news report. But you just know even before that news report comes on, you know that something's going to go down that's not going to be good.
Yeah, he's definitely unstable as a character, and I would question Tarantino's mental stability in real life a few times myself. But I love his work, and but he does have an old fetish for a big toe.
Oh, he loves them.
And he loves them. He got to suck Salma Hayek's big fucking toes in this.
He absolutely got to go for it. And I think, and it's the one thing I kind of watching this movie again now, being older, and that it's like, it's kind of mad how there's a lot about the male gaze and stuff in this, and a lot about how the characters who really are like over the top sexual predators, on what he is the sexual predator, do ultimately get punished in this movie. Because when George Clooney when the Salma Hayek scene is going on, if you look at George Clooney in that scene, he is doing everything he can not to stare at her ass. He is absolutely like looking at her, and he's sort of nodding at other people and looking at his brother, and he's looking at the pastor and all. But he's doing everything he can not to look at that. But and I feel that's part of the characterization too, is that if you're going to be too much into that male gaze, you're going to get punished for it, because you shouldn't be objectifying in that way. All the ones that go into that bar end up eating. Near enough everyone that goes into that bar ends up eating. So is there something that could be said for, you go to titty bars, you're going to get your ass bit,
Definitely. That's why I don't go to titty bars, man. So let's talk about the rest of the cast. Obviously, George Clooney, fantastic in this. This was kind of his first big breakout Hollywood film. He'd been in, I think, a few smaller films, and obviously he was big in ER and stuff, and all that kind of thing. But this was just like completely different to what he was in ER. And Tarantino loves doing that. I think he had a hand in casting this as well. Clearly, he did. But he loves taking somebody from a certain kind of area and putting them in a different area that you maybe don't necessarily think that they should be able to perform. But Clooney, man, he delivers, and he's so fucking cool in this. Like, for years, I just wanted to be Seth Gecko. Like, I wanted to have the big fucking tattoo down my arm and all, and just such a cool fucker, though, isn't he?
Man, it's even the way he delivers, even the line, "Be cool," and it's pure ice. Like, he is absolute when he's just talking to people. You're like, I would listen to him. Now it's unfortunate his brother Richie's a mad schizophrenic and completely ruins the situation that he is trying to keep cool. But yeah, he just, and it's even the way that he interacts with other characters, like him and the pastors. The interactions between those two characters are fantastic. Like, I love the bit where the pastor is Jacob, yeah, when he's like, "You've won. Like, why can't you just accept they win?" And even George Clooney doesn't actually say anything in that moment, really, bar the "I insist you have a drink with me" bit. But it's just a look on his face where he's like, I would love to knock you the fuck out, but also I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, he's not a nice guy. Obviously, he's a thief. But there's a moment where him and Richie sort of almost come to blows, where he pushes Richie against the wall. I think it's after he rapes and he murders the girl in the hotel room, and he says, we're thieves. We're not murderers. We're not rapists. We only kill people when we really, really have to.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to kill anyone. He just wants to get the job done. But it doesn't make him a nice guy. But there's a certain, almost like a mutual respect between him and Jacob, where maybe not a mutual respect, but I think he comes to respect Jacob even before all the shit kicks off with the vampires. he respects the fact that this man has been through some hard times with obviously his wife passing, and he's lost his faith. He's looking after his children, and the fact that Jacob doesn't necessarily just lie down and be like, "You can do whatever you want to me and my kids." He stands up and he's like, "No, this is what's happening." Obviously, he eventually does kind of listens to Seth, because Seth's got he's the man with the gun, like. But there's a moment there when he questions him, and Seth says, "What did you say? Or what did you call me?" And he says, I didn't make a statement. I asked you a question." Yeah. And man, that line of dialogue has stayed with me ever since I watched this movie. And it's a really well written line of dialogue. And in fact, the whole movie's well written. I mean, you get all the comedy stuff and you get all the really cool shit, but you get some pretty deep stuff in there as well. And, Tarantino was a great writer. Fucking amazing script. Yeah. But also in this movie, obviously Harvey Keitel, legendary actor, been in fucking loads and loads of movies. He's made his name years and years ago. What an actor he was. Still is a great actor. And strange movie for him to kind of take, but different. Yeah. Obviously he'd worked with Tarantino in Reservoir Dogs. Mm-hmm. And I think he is fucking phenomenal in this movie.
So good. He's so good. Because again, he's probably the most grounded character in the whole thing. You can genuinely believe his motivations for what he's doing, and as you said, his dialogue, his whole banter, well, not banter, but his whole understanding with Seth is incredible, and it's so well acted between the two of them. And yeah, as it just progresses, I feel like you really feel for his character, because even though he kind of comes in, like, there's kind of quite a bit before they actually kind of come in. We kind of have like the establishing of the Gecko brothers for a while, and then we get them. But even within that time, I think you become quite attached to the family and to them eventually as a unit, for their survival. Because even though, like half of them are bad guys, you're still like, well, they still got to beat the vampires though, don't they?
Yeah. And the thing about the family is you get the Chinese son, and then you get Juliette Lewis, who's the older sister, Kate. I think she's probably supposed to be about 19, 20 years old. I'm not... Because
she's definitely under 21, because she's like, I'm not old enough to drink.
Yeah, I'm going to guess she's about 19, 20. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, she had done Natural Born Killers and stuff, so this was another big film for her. But
what's her deal with trying to run off with bad boys?
Seriously. She is great in it, because she plays that sort of kind of simple, doe-eyed girl. She's quite slow speech, but she's stoic. She's got a courage about her, and obviously towards the end of the film, she has to have that courage because she's got no other choice.
Yep.
And then at the end, she wants to go with Sesh because she's got nothing else to live for. Really, she's got nothing else to do. I'd love to see where she goes after that.
Yeah.
I think that could be something that they could play with. I don't know. Maybe they did touch on it in the TV shows and stuff, because I've never watched any of the TV shows. So, but I think her character's interesting. I'd like to see what happened to her. But I love a little bit of Juliette Lewis as well.
Yeah, I mean, her Natural Born Killers. I love Natural Born Killers. Like, but yeah, it was just watching this, and then I got to the end. I was like, she has a problem.
Yeah, I know. She loves a bad boy.
She loves a bad boy.
But couple other cool actors in this. Tom Savini as well. Mm-hmm. I remember, I'm in love with Tom Savini, but back whenever I first watched, I didn't know who he was. To me, he was just always Sex Machine. Whenever I found out years after that he was, this makeup legend, and I was like, oh, that's Sex Machine.
Then I came in and watched the second half of it with me, and his like introductory moment came on. And I was like, the shot goes down to his crotch, and I goes, where do you see this? Where do you see this? Because it just immediately, as soon as it happened, I was like, I know what's coming. And I got really excited about it. And I was just like, why am I getting so excited about a willy gun? Like, it's just... I love it. I love it.
Had Una seen this before?
No, this was her. She'd never seen it before. So I think she came in just before they got to Titty Twisters, and she was like, I thought this was a vampire movie. I was like, it is,
you know what,
just
man? That was the same as Janine, because obviously, like, she'd heard of the film before, and she knew it was about vampires and stuff, but she didn't really know exactly. But she came in today, as I was rewatching it today, and she came in whenever just before they got to the tech twister as well, whenever they were in the RV and they were driving over the border.
Yep.
And she came in and she looked, she goes, "Is that George Clooney?" And I goes, "Aye." And she goes, "Why did you not tell me George Clooney was this?" And I was like, "I thought you knew he was in this." And then obviously she's, got a stiffy for George Clooney, so she was just,
a husband's bulge.
She was like, "Oh, does he turn into a vampire?" And I goes, "Well, actually, he's one of the few that doesn't turn into a vampire. He survives in the end."
Spoilers.
And I know, and she was like, "Oh, I might have to watch this." And so she sat down and she watched a bit of it, and she was sort of doing stuff as well halfway through it, but she kept popping her head and being like, "Oh, has he got his top off yet or whatever?"
He never actually. To be fair, the only time we get to see some of his arms and a bit of his chest is at the very, very end of the movie, and then we get to see that like colored in tribal tattoo going up his arm.
Tribal tattoos were a big thing back in the mid-90s, weren't they?
It's, you know what? See, watching it yesterday, I was just like, shite, mate.
I know. But still, like back in the day, I was like,
that was the thing to have back then.
When I'm old enough to get tattoos, I'm going to get a big mad tattoo down my arm. It's going to be all tribal, my shoulder and all. Fuck. Not one single tattoo have I ever got.
It's not too late, man. It's not too late.
We'll see. If you've got any fucking influence over me, I'll fucking Star Wars and fucking everything covered.
The Tay Twister logo on your back.
I know. I'm thinking about it actually. Just get like Salma Hayek's big mad head, vampire head.
Big snaky vampire head. Man, that's the other thing. Like, we're kind of just rambling everything about this movie right now, which again is wonderful. But the vampire designs in this movie are so varied, but incredible.
Yeah, I think that's what really stands out about the film is that it sticks to vampire lore to a certain extent, but there's a scene where they talk about, oh, has anyone read a book about vampires, and not just been going on what they've seen in the movies. And they kind of, with this script, they just went, you know what, let's just stick to the basic thing is, you can stab them through the heart, they've got fangs, they turn into the crosses, they turn into big demons. They've got, some of them have colored eyes, some of them don't. Some of them turn into like ancient vampires.
Yep.
It's like their whole body. Some of them turn into big man bats. Salma Hayek turns into like a weird
cobra.
Yeah, it's like
snake thing.
It is a bit snaky. It is snake-like, but it's more ancient vampire. That kind of bald, weird head.
Yeah.
And then
was it the white worm? Is that what I'm thinking? More white worm style.
The lair of the white worm was a
it was lair of the white, and it's sort of like a snakish, whitish, vampire-y beastie.
Yeah, that's the one with the big fangs. But definitely, and then later on, whenever you see some of the dancers, some of them have just got fangs because obviously they're young vampires, and then there's
it's
one
when they've got like the 4v4 moment, like they're all kind of lined up across from each other, and as you say, you've got like the ones who are like only recently turned and still kind of good looking, and then you got that one that like walks over and is just like bulbous and like titties down to her knees and the guts are hanging out of her. And
I will say now, whenever that scene happened, Janine was like, I will applaud the diversity in the vampire because there's like a couple of skinny kind of hot dancers. Yep. And then there's one that's kind of a bigger one. She's kind of a bigger girl, but she's still naked and she's still human looking. And then there's one that's just a complete beast.
Demon.
Got like a demon face, the big wide smile, saggy tits. And then you say the stomach is kind of hanging.
It's like hanging open, or it's like ripped open.
That's actually from a deleted scene that didn't make the film, where her stomach actually started to eat somebody. And I'm sure it's on YouTube, or if you look online somewhere, you'll be able to see the deleted scene. But apparently,
I didn't know that.
Apparently, they were just like, "Nah, that's too
too wild.
That's too far. Like, we can't go that far." Like, but that's why her stomach's kind of open and it looks as if the shit hanging out because her stomach was eating somebody. But yeah, I love the whole vampire design, and the effects in this is crazy. There's a couple of CGI moments that are a little bit dodgy, but they kind of don't use a lot of CGI. It's mostly all kind of
practical. And even the practical effects, again, there's a few moments where you can kind of tell, especially towards the end. It's when Katie shoots the crossbow, the vampires are like tearing her brother apart, and he explodes, the brother explodes, but also the vampires around him. But you can kind of see, like, just in that moment, if you kind of go frame by frame, you can see that the vampires are just dummies. Because of the way they're still like standing still and they just kind of like shake from the boom, but then they get blown back and there's chunks.
There's a bit when all those vampires come in, because obviously the bats come in and they're all kind of bat hybrids.
Mhm.
But I mean, you can tell they're just wearing. Obviously, they're wearing suits, but it's very obvious that they're wearing suits. And when they're walking around, because there's a lot of kind of moments in this film, because the bar is quite small, and there's a lot of moments in the film when the vampires, just kind of wait till the guys are ready so that they can fight rather than just jumping on them. So there's a lot of them just walking around doing nothing in the background.
They're doing that the Power Ranger thing, like
exactly.
the Power Ranger background actor thing, where they're just kind of going,
"Oh, we have to wait for Seth to be ready here before we can attack him."
I am in action mode. I swear.
I know. But yeah, you can tell they're obviously wearing suits. But that again, man, that's prosthetics, and that's
it's what we live for. I'd prefer that over like a polished CGI sort of thing. Because again, with CGI, I feel like you go almost to Uncanny Valley, whereas with like rubbery practical effects, yes, it looks rubbery and cheesy, but there's still like I think again that makes it almost more creepy, but not Uncanny Valley creepy, but like genuine monstery creepy. But yeah, there's so much in there, and there's so much like just daft gore and daft explosions. Like even the start, when the liquor shop blows up, there's like it just seems to keep exploding. Like there's one explosion and then another one, the windows all blow out, but then two explosions come out the back. And as I said, I think Rodriguez was just like, how much can I spend on pyrotechnics? Because I want them.
Talking about spending money, I forgot to drop my fucking budget.
We'd just be so excited
today. So 19 million it cost.
Right.
There you go. And 18.5 million was spent on explosions.
I was going to say, how much was on explosions?
I'm joking. I don't know, but I'm going to guess probably about 10 million spent on explosions. Body parts exploding, fucking tavern bars exploding. But do you want to take a guess at how much it made at box office? It did pretty well.
Don't know.
60 mil. Just under 60 mil it made at box office, which is really, really good for especially a film like this.
Oh.
And then it just completely blew everyone away when it hit video and stuff. It became a real cult classic. Yeah, as always. But I wanted to actually talk about the opening scene there where you were saying about the big explosion in the wee shop. One thing that I think Tarantino is the best at, for me, I don't know if there's anyone out there that can write opening scenes better than Tarantino. And you look at all his films, he gets you from the first scene, and as soon as you get that first scene over, you're just like, I want to see where this is going. And even though this film is completely different from the first scene to the end scene, or at least halfway through this movie, like he just pulls you in, because you get that slow shot of the sheriff, played by Michael Parks, who, interesting enough, that character actually, even though he dies in this scene, he shows up later in Kill Bill. It's the same character. He's in he's actually in a few different Tarantino movies. The actual character played by Michael Parks. But he shows up to the store and he's talking away to the guy behind the counter, who's played by John Hawkes, who's another fantastic actor. And he is phenomenal in this very, very small role that he has.
Yep.
But the back and forth that they have, and then you find out that these brothers are here. And the tension that is built up in that short scene is unreal.
It's incredible.
And the payoff that John Hawkes, whenever Earl Shaw goes to the bathroom, he's just amazing. Like the panic in his eyes, and he's like, I'm doing all the best I can. I'm fucking. Like, amazing actor. John Hawkes would go on to be nominated for an Academy Award, I think, quite a few years after this, and he's done phenomenal roles throughout his whole career. But fantastic in this, and he would actually work with Clooney again in Perfect Storm, one of Janine's favourite films. So I just wanted to throw that out there. But yeah, that short scene at the start with the shop, where it just lays the groundwork for everything. It's so over the top, because obviously the big explosion at the end, and then the perfect end to it is whenever he grabs the wee map. Yep. And George Clooney's character Seth's just like, I told you just to go in and grab the map. So they were basically just stopping in just to grab a fucking map, and they ended up taking 2 hostages, fucking shooting 4 people and blowing the whole fucking shop up.
Yep. And you wonder, I would like to know what happened, what escalated that situation. You definitely, it's Richie has escalated the situation. Yeah. You wonder, is it something to do with the 2 girls? Was he trying to grab one of the girls or something? Or, it seems Richie cannot be left on his own without Seth. Like, Seth is definitely the handler. But But man, what a scene! And even the, when George Clooney's like shoot the bottles out from behind him, like that. I remember even yesterday because I'd actually kind of forgotten about the opening, and then watching it yesterday, I was like, why is he telling him to shoot the bottles? And then he grabs the loo roll and the lighter fluid, and I was like, oh fuck, class.
I know, because like Seth, he's such a smart guy. Like, he's a smart criminal. He knows what he's doing. He's been doing this for years. Richie is just the complete opposite. His younger brother, quite soft-spoken. Richie, for most of it, until he loses his rag. And then when he does, which he does very often, he fucking completely loses his rag. And shit just goes from 0 to 100 in the matter of seconds. And he fucks up everything. I fucking hate Richie.
That scene, the scene in the RV when he calls him a nutcase. And he's like, who you calling nutcase? Why you calling me a nutcase? And George Clooney's just like, knocks him out in the shower. But again, it's already too late. Richie's fucked up because he's made a noise and the border patrol have heard him. But man, yeah, their whole, again, the relationships in this movie are fucking fantastic. The fact that the two brothers and all, and I think definitely like Seth definitely loves his brother. I think anybody else would have just been like, you need to cut that wild dog loose sooner. And even when when Richie turns into a vampire, you can still tell, Seth's got to be the one to do it, sort of thing. Again, great brotherly dynamic there, and
the dynamic between the two is amazing. You're right, when he turns into a vampire, like, it takes him a wee second to realize that he needs to do it, but he takes the responsibility because he's a fucking man and he knows this is the way that shit needs to go. And he feels like a survivor as well. Maybe he's been through a lot of shit himself in their childhood, and he's went through a lot of shit in his teenage years and throughout his young adulthood, and what has forced them into this position. And I'm pretty sure that is explored in the TV show. But you don't know it now, obviously, but just a great performance. And
so good.
Yeah, the chemistry between the two is fucking great. Like, but Richie, what a dickhead! What a fucking prick.
What about when Seth gets back to the motel and finds that Richie is like raped and murdered the bank teller? It's obviously a powerful bit of acting, as you said. But the other thing about that scene that I love is the Kahuna burgers.
Yeah, like
Kahuna burgers. Oh man, when I seen that bag, I was just like, the scene in Once Upon a Time in America, where that was me when that happened.
Yeah, there's Tarantino's famous for his trying to connect his universes with little Easter eggs and stuff, and it's weird because a lot of his movies, there's he doesn't place them in certain timelines. Obviously, you have the likes of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where it's set during Charles Manson, but it's an alternate universe. And then you have Inglourious Bastards, it's set during World War II, but again, that's an alternate universe. But a lot of his films aren't set in a specific time. Like Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs both look like movies from the 70s, or that should be set in the 70s, but you're never told that they're set in that era. But all his movies do have connections, and it's lovely when you see a little Easter egg like that.
It's the same, like we love all that kind of, we directorial nods to their other works and stuff, and it's even, the likes of Kevin Smith with the View Askewverse, and stuff like that there. I love it. I love those sort of wee nods to other works, and it just makes me happy when I spot those Easter eggs.
And I love when they pay homage to other directors, because the son in this, Scott, he's wearing a Precinct 13 t-shirt, which is a nod to John Carpenter, one of Robert Rodriguez's favorite filmmakers. And I love just all those little homages. It's fucking brilliant.
So good.
We were talking about the dynamic between the Gecko brothers. Like, Richie obviously isn't a very likable character. Is Seth likable?
I think Seth comes to be likable. Like, I think at the start, when he's one of these ones that you kind of like, you like him and then you don't like him, and then you like him and you don't like him, and I think ultimately at the end you do like him, because he could have easily said to Kate, "Come on with me," but that he's actually doing the better thing for her by telling her to go her own way. But I think there's so many moments throughout it, at the start when he's like, be cool, you're like, oh, well, obviously he's looking out for the shop owner. You know, he's saying he believes his brother, but you don't actually think he believes his brother. He's just doing it to keep the situation calm. But then afterwards, he's like, tells the shop owner that he's going to kill him, but he has to do that now because Richie's escalated the situation. But he's, Seth's still going to finish it. And I think, he's one of these ones. He's selfish. Like, he's a selfish character. And that he doesn't hide it at all. And I think those are the moments, his selfish moments, are when you don't like him, when he's not a likable character.
I think he is pretty likable throughout it. Obviously, he's for young males, he's likable because he's kind of like the cool, he's cool as fuck. For kind of older males or females might like him because he's hot.
Yeah,
but
he's George Clooney.
I know. For the most part, I think in terms of his character, he's a bad guy, but he does enough from that opening scene, and he does enough throughout the course of the film to keep you thinking that he's really just wanting to get to his destination. And he doesn't want to hurt anyone. He doesn't want to kill anyone unnecessarily. He doesn't want anything to escalate. He just wants to fucking get there with no hassle. Now, the only one thing that I would say, when he gets to the bar, the Teddy Twister, and Cheech Marin's character sort of stops him and says, hang on. In that moment, he does escalate the situation because he obviously breaks his hand and then beats the fuck out of him. But I think that the one thing is, if you touch him, as in if you put your hand on his shoulder, because you see it later on as well, then that's when he feels threatened and feels like he has to turn into like a dominant male. So that's why he let that situation get out of hand there. But for the most part, I think he is a likable character.
I think at the end, but as you say, he definitely has his like, I'm big balls moments when he arrives at the bar.
And he's all like, oh, great dance. And he's kind of looking around at everyone. And he's like, man, you've just walked into a random rowdy bar in Mexico. I wouldn't be announcing myself. I'd try to hide in the corner, and waiting for your fucking rendezvous later on so you can get out safe. But, he's Billy Big Balls, like, and it doesn't work out for him. But talking about characters, we'll talk about Frost, who is the Vietnam vet.
Yeah, man, he just appears out of nowhere, and he's just part of the whole gang.
You see him,
he batters vampires.
You just see him. You see him for like just a couple of seconds, drinking a beer. He's just a patron of the bar. Kind of similar to the scene where you first see Sex Machine. When he whips the guy's beer. That's actually the guy that he does that to, is Greg Nicotero, who is a massive special effects dude as well. Worked on The Evil Dead and all, and famously became famous very recently with the Walking Dead series. But he's done loads of films over the years. Fantastic special effects dude. But that was him who he stole the beer from.
Blade and amazing. And then we get to see his wee dick gun.
His wee dick machine gun.
Machine gun.
Savini's fucking amazing in this, and Fred Williamson is the guy that plays Frost. But he was an ex-NFL player. He played football back in the days, and then he became an actor. But he famously appeared in a lot of sort of blaxploitation movies, and he was actually the lead in Inglourious Bastards, the first one, the original one, back in the day. So, obviously Tarantino, we know he's a big fan of those kind of exploitation movies, and he clearly had watched some of his movies and wanted him to be in this film, and helped Rodriguez cast him in this role. And then obviously, he stole the movie title a few years later when he made his own Inglourious Bastards, which was a completely different story, but he liked the title of the movie. But I just love those little fucking nods, and
just wee connections and stuff.
But he's brilliant in it. Like,
he's so good. I love it's the moment with him and they take that fucking the vampire trope with the stake through the heart. It's a fucking pencil.
I know.
I love
it. One of the best scenes in the whole movie is when he's like, the guy runs at him, he just runs and he just pulls out his heart, and it's just like,
his heart out.
It's unreal. Like, it's something you would never see. You don't see shit like that in movies.
So ridiculous. But that is the ultimate, like, that whole scene where they're like fighting the vampires. As you said, it's fucking B-movie, wondrous, gory, ridiculous action. Like there's people flipping up in the air and people getting tossed onto legs of tables as stakes, and it is absolute mayhem of a scene, and it's great for it.
And he's still smoking a cigar.
He's still got his big cigar the whole time. There's a bit when he's like jabbing in the air. He's talking about being in Vietnam and how he's like stabbing all the Viet Cong. He's like he's in his cigar. I love that. It's the bit after, you know, he's just finishing up his story and Tom Savini's like long vampire fingers come up over, and I love that. Just that kind of like he's like spider legs.
Yeah, so good, man. And then he turns into a vampire, but he sort of turns into kind of like a weird, like his face is kind of like bat-like. You know, his nose goes out like that, and his mouth goes out. And then that's when the bats all come in. It's great.
Because it just fucks Savini out the window.
Great character and great performance. Really, really cool fucking performance. But
I love when he kills. Savini kills Danny Trejo, another wonderful actor in this film.
I was about to come to him next.
Man, when Savini kills him and he dies on the pool table, but his eyes don't melt away like the rest of them. They roll into the corners of the pool table.
There's so many cool deaths in this. Like, it's just unreal. They really are quite inventive with a lot of the deaths, and kind of just some of the overtop scenes. Like, we'll talk about a few now. Like, we've already spoken about a few of the overtop death scenes, but what about the band as well, man? With the big human guitar.
Yeah. Because again, it just like out of nowhere just happens. Like, you know, before they're all vampires, just like a normal kind of band with like just normal. And then next thing it cuts over to them, they're all vampires, and their instruments are made of body parts which have just appeared.
I know. Well, Janine watched that scene and she hates gore and limbs and all that shit. And she was like, "Oh, that's pretty bad." I was like, "Aye." She was. The worst part's the fucking head.
Just like dangling.
The body's kind of almost like, obviously it's sewed together and all, but the head's the thing that's just dangling. It's just like, whoa.
Yep.
But I love the fucking band. Fuck you, good night. And then they just go up.
And yeah, exactly. More explosions. I think I'd love to definitely do like a body explosion count for this movie, because there's definitely one every like 15 minutes after they get to the tight twister.
Well, I'd read somewhere online just previous to this call, it was 122 as the body count, but I don't know how many of those were explosions. So it'll be interesting to go through. Maybe we'll talk about that in the future episodes or something. But
explosion count.
Yeah, that's cool. If anyone's watching this and they know, please post the comments section how many people actually die from explosions in this. We'll get Robert Rodriguez on next season, sure. Imagine
it would be great. I did attempt. I reached out to Danny Trejo's people, and unfortunately he is busy at the moment. But they have told us to keep in touch.
Yes.
So you never know.
Maybe Machete, Machete or something next season, or
maybe
something else. I mean, he's been in loads of fucking.
He's been so much, and I love him. Like he seems like such a nice character, and especially when you read about like his past and stuff,
his life,
and how far he's like come, and now he's got his own like taco place, and it's just. Have you seen just his most recent piece of work with the Muppets?
No, I haven't. No,
he's in Muppets Now that came out there on Disney Plus.
Oh.
It's a sponsor, Disney Plus. But yeah, he appears in an episode of Muppets Now with the Swedish chef, and they are making tacos, and it's wonderful.
I love Danny. Danny's amazing.
Thanks.
Amazing guy. Danny Trejo's pretty cool too.
Yeah.
But what other fucking cool scenes? There's the scene where I love whenever Sex Machine loses his head, and then he turns into like a big
rat.
Is it a rat? It is a rat, isn't it?
Mad rat, yeah.
Because he's got a big rat tail.
He's got the tail. Like, I think if he didn't get the tail, you'd maybe be like, okay, it might be a bat. But no, the tail definitely, like, bats don't have tails. Maybe like little stumpy tails. But no, that was definitely a rat.
Yeah. Do you know what it looked like? The witches.
The witches. Oh my God, yes. Yep.
Yeah.
That is.
You know that weird scene where they all turn into mice near the end, and you get all those weird camera angles up close and.
Yeah. Oh, don't that. Stuff. Talking about, we've sort of said we'll maybe do an episode in the future about horror movies, not horror movies, which is scared the fuck. See when they all start transforming. Oh,
well, definitely. we'll definitely do some sort of like kids horror movies, stuff that haunted us when we were kids. Episode in the future. But yeah, I thought that was amazing. And then when Cheech, the pussy man, whenever he turns into a vampire, his face starts melting, which is fucking awesome. It reminded me of Raiders of the Lost Ark. It all started melting away like a candle, and then his fucking eyes just go just blow away. That's so cool, man.
There's so many ridiculous, because there's like a lot of people melt in this movie, like melt and explode, or melt then explode, or explode but then kind of melt gooey on the floor. And I think it's even towards the end when the pastor, when Jacob is turned, and he's got like a condom holy water balloon to the face, and it's the way like half his face is melting away, but it's not even like skull, it's just goo, like green goo.
The skull actually melt it.
Yeah, it reminds me of Gremlins a bit, at the end of Gremlins when
100%.
Stripe melts away. It reminds me a bit of that. The again, same sort of consistency of green goo.
Yeah. No, that's exactly what I thought of Gremlins, just at the end and you can sort of see his skull starting to melt as well. It's class. But I love when they're using the super soakers and the condoms.
I love that the montage scene of like getting battle ready. I love a good like battle ready montage scene, and them like blessing the water, and getting the crossbow, and the fucking the pile driver with the stick on the end of it. Incredible. And I think one of the pieces of imagery that really stick with me is Jacob with the shotgun baseball bat cross. Like that's one of the things I think of with this movie, is him walking around with that kind of shotgun, and then just being like pumping it with the baseball bat. So cool. Just fucking good. The stuff like every young teenage boy wants.
I know, man. Guns. That's what I'm saying. That's what I was saying. Like, I was 12 years old when I watched this, and I was like, this was made for me. Or somebody maybe a little bit older than me, but that kind of age group, and you're just like, yeah, fucking bring it on, bring them.
Violence.
I love the fact that the vampire's blood is actually green.
Yep, because again, it's that great moment just as everything's about to turn to a shit show, and you see, Seth has stabbed Danny Trejo in the shoulder with the knife, but then he stabs it into the table, and then the pastor looks at the knife and it's dripping with the green blood, and that's when you kind of go, something's not right here.
You're like, ooh, shit, what's going to happen now? And then all hell breaks loose. And that's just after the dance, the Salma Hayek dance. And her character name is called Santanico Pandemonium, which is fucking rolls off the tongue easy. But apparently that's actually a Mexican horror movie, an old Mexican horror movie that stuck with Tarantino when he used to work in a video store. It was obviously one of the videos that was in a store, but the title stuck with him, and that's why he wrote it into the script, which again, fucking cool as fuck. But yeah, one of the other things I wanted to say was there's a cool bit whenever there's a hole in the door, and they start putting like limbs. They start pushing like arms and legs and all just to fill the hole, and it's just like you just see like the legs and hands flapping. I just thought that's so inventive, man. That's so creative.
It's so there's just I think so much about like the design and the thought process of this film, because even the bar itself is wonderful looking. Like you kind of, there's so much to see in it. Like as you say, it's quite a small confined space, but as you're looking around it, you're kind of like, there's obviously like a lot of like Mexican and like Aztec-y design, but then you've also kind of got the like bar stuff going on, and it's so cool. And I love the reveal at the end, obviously, of, it ends up being like a fucking, the very tippity top of like an Aztec temple. And again, the way that the reveal of that there, along with the rest of the design of the bar and stuff, is great. And again, it makes you wonder, obviously, I'm sure, as we said, the TV series probably explains more, but just that wee thing at the end, you're like, whoa.
Well, and it's a beautiful matte painting as well. Like it's so beautiful, and when it pans out and you see, you're right, it's like the tip of the iceberg. It's this bar, and then it just goes into this big temple. But yeah, there's 2 sequels as well, which I have never gotten around to watch, and I feel quite ashamed that I haven't. But Robert Patrick, who famously from Terminator 2, is in the second one. I don't think he's in the third one. maybe I've got mixed up there. I know he's definitely in one of them, and I think Rodriguez was the producer in both of them as well. So we'll have to check that out maybe and see where they go. See where they go with this, and I'm definitely going to check out the TV show one of these days when I get a bit of fucking time, because I'm so, we're so busy, Danny.
Of course, busy boys.
Busy bees. But one of the best characters in this, we've spoken about the characters a lot in this, but I think the best character in the whole show is the titty twister. You were saying, like, the bar itself is a character.
Yes,
you see it from outside, and the big neon lights, and the wee tits and all, and girls, and all that, and it's a truck stop essentially in the middle of nowhere over the border, and you get the introduction with Cheech Marin's pussy dialogue, which is unreal, and
it's just his whole like sales pitch.
Yeah, I mean, it's as a 12-year-old watching that, you were just like, oh, he said pussy, chicken pussy, and smelly pussy and whatever, and you're just like, oh, and then that bit when he sort of breaks the fourth wall and looks at the camera and he's like, fuck it, that was everybody loved that in school, man. That was fucking brilliant. But when you actually go into the bar, and that design is just unreal, like it's like nothing else you've seen before, and it's clearly it is made from stone, because you can see the details of the walls and stuff looks kind of like stone. But then you get parts where the girls are dancing and they're up high, and then there's some girls dancing on tables, and you've got the pool table, and then you've got the stage in the back. But I love the titty twister. I think
it's so good. Like, even there's light fixtures on the walls, which are like these big round like metal, and obviously they're meant to be like giant metal ditties, but they're just like these big metal things with like spikes on the ends of them. And they look real, like, again, they just don't look out of place at all in it. And then later on, when they go down into like the room with all the stuff that's been like salvaged from the trucks of the dead truck, from the dead truckers' trucks, and that hallway leading down into it is like a gross catacomby sort of tunnel, and it's just it's so cool. And there's a bit, you notice it more at the very end when they're outside the titty twister. There's like a roundabout outside the front of it, but there's like all these kind of like Aztec-y slabs outside it as well, and it's some great set design, absolutely fantastic set design.
It's amazing. That it'd be awesome if there was, if they salvaged that set somewhere and you could go and visit. That'd be so cool, man. If you could go and visit,
go to the titty twister.
I know. And order a Coke, because I don't drink alcohol, but still, I'll play a game of pool with you.
Oh, wow.
Look at some titties.
Look at the titties.
Look at that nipples.
Man, it's even when you walk up to the bar, and Danny Trejo's like serving the drinks, and there's all the drinks in behind the bar, and there's like it looks to be like a pork hit, like you can get pork meat, I assume in like an enchilada or something, but even that there, like, there's something about the bar and all as well that is like very Rob Zombie-esque as well. There's something about it when I was looking at it, and I was just like, the lighting and stuff over the bar.
Man, whenever we did a Rob Zombie episode, I said that Rob Zombie just wants to be like Tarantino. Maybe that's a bit harsh. I don't mean it to be harsh or anything, but he's clearly a fan of his work. Yeah. And I'm sure he's a fan of Rodriguez as well. I'm sure he's a fan of this movie, and I know this film. I'm sure this film definitely inspired a lot of people to become filmmakers, because it was just a mind-blowing film.
Yeah, and it's even like to watch it, like, the story is not overly complicated. The sets, like the setup of it all, isn't overly complicated. It could be done, like, obviously, yes, they had the budget to do the big explosions and do the cool vampire costumes and stuff, but I feel like this is the kind of movie that could be made on a small budget as well, because it's more character driven and dialogue driven, and I think that's what really sort of makes it. And it is just silly, like the violence and the choreography of the fights and stuff is so daft and silly and B-movie and just wonderfully fun. And I think it's very easy to get inspired by.
It's definitely one of the most fun movies that you're ever going to watch. And like, even Janina mentioned that she doesn't like gore or blood or anything, but she was kind of watching it kind of like sort of laughing, and not laughing as in a like laughing at because it was bad, but laughing because she was enjoying it. Yep. And for someone who doesn't enjoy horror, to watch a movie like this and sort of kind of enjoy what she's looking at. I mean, she was probably looking at George Clooney's lovely big eyes, you know.
Well, it's lovely head.
And I've been like, oh, take your clothes off, George, please. Because she actually said to me during that scene, whenever Santanico Pandemonium comes down and she does her sexy dance and she does the whole foot thing, she was like, who would pick, out of all the guys sitting at that table, who the fuck would pick Quentin Tarantino to put your big toe in his mouth? Like, you would definitely pick George Clooney first, and then you'd go to Harvey Keitel, and then you'd go to Juliette Lewis, and then you'd maybe go to fucking Quentin Tarantino. Because he's certainly, you know, he's no oil painting, let's be fair.
As I said, he definitely wrote Richie for himself just so he could get stuck on them toes.
I know. Well, here. We're not kink shaming. So.
No kink shame. No shame here.
But apparently, Salma Hayek was like completely shit feared of snakes. So whenever she got cast as the role, obviously she knew she had to carry this big snake for
boa
for part of her performance, and so she did everything she could to overcome this fear to do it, because Rodriguez said that Madonna was second. He was like, Madonna is my second choice, so if you can't do this, I'm going to get Madonna to do it. But apparently he was lying. So it ended up that Salma Hayek was like, no, I'm not letting Madonna steal a role for me. So she did it.
Imagine Madonna. I can't see Madonna doing it.
No, I mean, I think Madonna pops up in 4 Rooms. Have you ever seen that movie?
Yes,
4 Rooms.
4 Rooms, decent. Yeah.
She's in that, isn't she? She's in one of the segments. I don't know if it's Rodriguez's segment but I'm pretty sure she's in one of the segments. So maybe that happened because of conversations with this movie or whatever. But I thought that was a fun fact. And another fun fact as well, George Clooney wasn't the first choice to play Seth Gecko. In fact, he was quite far down the line from what I read online. I'm not sure who the first choice was, but there was quite a few big names before him. Christopher Walken was apparently one of the names.
Oh, I know. Stop those vampires.
Imagine him doing a wee dance, you know. Fucking.
Richie, what have I told you about the raping?
This ring was up my fella's ass. But so he was one of the choice. John Travolta was one. I knew John Travolta was in the running for it as well.
Yeah,
he would have been okay. Obviously,
at that time, yeah.
You know, Pulp Fiction. Antonio Banderas was another one.
That
seems like he would have been perfect choice for him. Yeah, because you know he'd worked with Rodriguez the year prior to this on Desperado. So, but yeah, interesting to see. It would have been interesting to see Christopher Walken. Yeah. Would have been weird.
Would have been a strange one. I don't know. I could definitely see. I could definitely see the other two, but Christopher Walken, not so much.
No,
not so much.
No, definitely not. But yeah, fucking amazing film. Love it to bits.
So good. So much fun. If you haven't seen it, go see it. If you have seen it, watch it again.
It's kind of one of those movies. I mean, I've watched it probably 3 or 4 times over the last few years, but it's one of those movies you can just watch. You can just watch over and over again. It's almost 2 hours long, and the first half of it, before they get to the tight twister, is about 50 minutes or 55 minutes. Give or take, but it doesn't feel that long.
No, it does. It sort of flies by, and I think it is because it breaks up quite nicely the kind of introductions to the characters. You know, you kind of get the Gecko brothers, and then you get, is it the Fuller family? You call them? Is it Jacob Fuller and?
Yes, Fuller.
Yeah. So you get the Fuller family. You kind of get like their 2 setups, and then you get them coming together, and the whole kind of like it's quite tense a lot. You know, something's constantly happening. You know, there's never a moment I think where you're kind of bored. Because there's always something going on. Again, you get fantastic bits of dialogue between Seth and Jacob, and if you haven't seen it before, you definitely would not know there was vampires coming. Like if you don't know anything about this movie, you would just think it's a sort of crime romp.
Yeah, you just think it's just two brothers on the run. You know, after a bank robbery, and they're just going on the run, and you just sort of think that's what it's about.
Yep.
And eventually they're going to get their comeuppance somehow from the police somehow is going to get involved or whatever. But man, what we get is so good, so good, and so much better. Like, let's be honest,
man. And the perfect ending for the vampires, fucking death by disco.
I know.
Death by disco.
Exactly, a fucking glitter ball kills them in the end.
Glitter, the sun hits the disco ball and they all explode. Again, more explosions.
I know. Somebody was not thinking whenever they put that fucking disco
ball in a vampire titty club.
I know. Yeah, fucking amazing movie. Really enjoyed chatting about it this week with you, Danny.
Good one to finish on. Good one to finish.
I think Cabin in the Woods and From Dusk Till Dawn. What a fucking double that would make. You know, last week's episode and this week's episode. Mm-hmm. Great popcorn movies. Just really, really fun movies.
Really enjoyable. Mm-hmm.
But that's all we've got time for this week. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please leave your comments as always in the comment section. You know, who was your favorite vampire?
What was your favorite death?
What was your favorite death? Exactly.
How many explosions happened? Do you know?
Yeah, try and count for us.
Try and count.
Because I don't really want to count, to be honest with you. But if I need to, I will. But yeah, follow us on Twitter at Fright Club NI and on Instagram as well at the Fright Club NI, and check out the website www.thefrightclubni.com. And if you can make a donation on our support tab, then please do that to help us out. Just a reminder that we will be putting a Twitter poll up in the next week or two before season 3 starts. We're going to give you the choice to choose the film that we talked about for episode 1 of season 3. We'll give you 4 choices, and you can pick which one you want to hear us talk about. And also, we've got t-shirts coming, so keep an eye on our Twitter feed and our Instagram feed about the t-shirts, about details, prices, and how to get in contact with us if you want to pre-order one of those t-shirts. Well, in the meantime, guys, we'll see you in a couple of weeks after our short break. So please take care, stay safe. All the best, guys.
Bye.